Today, we are going to begin with the second lesson of history, that is, sources of history. And in this lesson, we are going to cover five subtopics. The first one is material sources, second subtopic is written sources, third one, oral sources, fourth subtopic is sources of ancient Indian history, and the fifth one is precautions to be taken while writing history. A number of objects used by our ancestors still exist. Some inscriptions from the past have been recovered. Sources like these help us to understand our history. History can also be learnt through customs and traditions, folk arts, folk literature, as well as historical documents. All these are known as sources of history. These are of three types: material sources, written sources, and oral sources. Now let's see the first subtopic, material sources. What are material sources? Material sources are those sources which can be seen and touched, which also helps us to gather information and gain knowledge. For example, books, coins, royal seals, and artifacts. Now, what are artifacts? Some examples of artifacts are toys, weapons, jewelry, coins, tools, pottery, small sculpture made and used by man are called artifacts. By studying them, the historians tell us about the skills that man had mastered and about man's lifestyle, social and economical conditions. Artifacts used by humans in the past provide us valuable information about life in the ancient times. We can decide the period of ancient artifacts like earthen pots by studying their shape, by studying their color, and also the designs on ancient potsherds. Potsherds are broken piece of ceramic material. We get information about the diet of the people from the remains of food grains, seeds, and bones of animals found in excavations. Now, you must be wondering how come the food grains can be still found as it gets damaged and turn into powder if infested. The reason is in ancient times people used to roast food grains before grinding them. If a few grains got charred while roasting, they were thrown away. Such charred grains can remain intact for a very long period. Intact means they can remain in good condition for a very long period. During excavation, such charred grains can be recovered. When these are inspected in a laboratory, we come to know what grain it is, and we also come to know the diet of the people during those times. Also, we find the remains of houses and buildings built in different historical periods. We also find ancient coins and seals. Now, when coins were not discovered, people of the ancient times used seals, and these seals were called mudras. All these give us information about human activities in the past. All such artifacts, articles, monuments, or their ruins are called the material sources of history. Now we move on to the next subtopic, written sources. The Stone Age people have recorded many events and expressed their emotions in paintings on rocks. It was only after thousands of years that man learnt the art of writing. Now look at the pot. Something is written on it. Since it belongs to the ancient period, we cannot read it. People used pointed objects like stone to write on them. That is, in the beginning, man wrote on potsherds, unbaked bricks. What are unbaked bricks? Unbaked bricks are semi finished bricks. Using pointed objects, they wrote on them. That is, written sources were introduced after the Stone Age period. People used signs and symbols to communicate with each other. However, it took thousands of years for a script to develop from these. In the beginning, man wrote on potsherds, unbaked bricks using pointed objects. He also used birch, that is, the bark of a bhulja tree, to write on. As his experience and knowledge increased, he began to write in different ways. He began to record the events that took place around him. Accounts of the proceedings of royal courts. Now, accounts of the proceedings of royal courts means report of a set of meetings. Sometimes orders from kings were inscribed so that people could read and obey them. There were also records of past events. He also recorded victories in battles on them. It gives information about the names of kings, the extent of their empire, and many other things. Many rulers had their orders, judicial decisions, donations, etc., inscribed on stone or copper plates. Now, here we have come across the word inscribed, that is, inscriptions, and inscriptions are writings carved on stone or copper plates. Over a period of time, many forms of literature developed. They included books on religious and social subjects, plays, poetry, travelogues. Travelogues is a book about the places visited by or experiences of a traveler, and scientific works. All this literature helps us to understand the history of the various historical periods. These sources are known as the written sources of history.